Chinese talking motherfucker. You know, the only book they let you bring into jail is the Bible. So I got into the Bible, man. And if you're a stoner, read the Bible. Because in the Bible, God is a stoner. I'm serious, man. Think about it, man. First page, God is known as the Most High.
Yeah. Praises unto the Most High.
On the sixth day of creation, when he created the world, the universe, and then eternity, which is very cool, creating eternity. That's really a hard one to do, but he did it. On the sixth day, he gave us green herb. He took time out, all that shit he had going on, he took time out to give us green herb. I give thee green herb. What did he do on the seventh day? Nothing. He was obviously too fucked up to work. That's what I mean. He looked around, he said, that's it, fuck it, I'm done. Green herb, you're on your own. And I loved it, man. I loved the stories. Green herb is mentioned like 21 times in the first few pages, man. They were trying to tell us something. And when that didn't get through, he said, okay, Moses, here's the burning bush, man. The burning God appeared to Moses in the form of a burning bush. And Moses talked to the burning bush. I've done that. I can just see God talking to him. You know, he's pure. No one can see him because he's too pure. He's pure. He's white. Whatever it is. But he saw Moses, and he called Moses over. He said, "Oh, come here, boy. This bud's for Jews." And Moses, that burning bush stayed lit for 40 years, man. That was some good bush, boy. Moses took the bush, fucked off into the desert. People followed him. And they followed the flame by night, the smoke by day. And they're crying out after him. Mo, come on, motherfucker, give us a hit, man. Moses, man, wandered that desert 40 years. What was he looking for? The land of milk and honey. Fuckers had the munchies, man. But that's one thing that weed does too. To me, anyway, it does. It puts me right next to God. Puts me in a listening mood, you know. And that's what weed is. Weed is God's way of saying, listen to me. Listen to me. I got shit. I got to tell you some stuff, man. And when I was in prison, I never had weed. I couldn't get weed. And I was offered a shitload, but I would get tested, drug tested, you know, a half hour later. They weren't too cool about it, you know. Hey, Chong, want to get high? And then half an hour later, hey, Chong, you got to piss in the cup. So I kind of knew, you know, that. But it was okay because, you know, God was with me the whole time because I took him with me. And he introduced me to the sweat lodge. Yeah, the sweat lodge, man. And when I was first introduced to it, you know, they asked me, Chong, you know, do you want to join our Sweat Lodge Society? It's a Native American way of worship. And I was invited in, and I thought, oh, cool, you know, sit around a sauna, you know, smoke a little pipe, you know, be cool. I had no idea what it was, but I soon found out. The Sweat Lodge is a little hut that Native Americans used as their church. And what it is, when you go in, before you go into the lodge or their holy place, you have to be smudged, purified with sage. They burn sage and then they smudge you because you're naked except for your shorts. In the old days, I don't think they even had that, but you know, they had the little shorts on in jail, and they would smudge the body with sage to purify it. And also to defunk too, because, you know, 16 guys in a little hut sweating, you know, could get pretty right. So the sage smudged would purify, and also keep the bugs away and purify your aura. And then you get on your hands and knees and crawl into the hut counterclockwise, and you come around, and we all sit facing the center. In the center, there's a hole cut out of the center where they bring rocks that have been heating all day, cooking all day in a big fire pit. And the rocks All the Native Americans believe that the rocks are living beings, which they are, you know, especially when they're red hot. And they bring them in, they talk to them, they welcome the rocks, come in, grandfather rock, we'll put you right here, and oh, you're beautiful today. And they talk and they arrange the rocks in a certain manner. And then once everybody's in and all the rocks are in, there's a rule, only the chief can, the leader of the sweat lodge can speak. No one else is allowed to speak. And then the rocks are in, the people are in, they bring in water in a drum. They close the flap, they start playing the drum. They start chanting ancient Lakota chants that go back thousands of years. After a while, I could translate. I knew what he was saying. It was weird, man. Here's what he was saying. It's fucking hot in here. My bubbles are melting off. It got so hot, man. I felt my spirit rise out of my body. And my spirit turned and said to me, I'll be outside. 20 minutes he played that fucking drum. He threw water on the rocks to make it hotter. After 20 minutes, they stopped the drum and they opened the flap and they said, first flap is finished. Anybody wants to leave, you may leave now. And I tried to get up, man. I tried my best to get up, but I had a cramp in my butt and I couldn't move. Just as I got almost up to the flap, they closed the fucking flap. Second round. 4 flaps later, there's only me and the chief left. And we're both laid out there. And the chief looked at me, he could hardly talk, and he goes, Chong, you are a true warrior, my son. No one has ever survived 4 flaps on their first run. But you, and then he looked and he realized I was dead. So they carried me out, and they laid me down on the ground, and I felt the cold air sweep over my body, and I looked up at the stars, and then I realized what had happened to me. I was purified. See, what happens in the sweat lodge, what you lose, it wasn't my spirit that left my body, it was my ego. See, the ego is what causes all the trouble in our lives. The ego is made up of fear, pure fear. We're afraid of what other people think of us. And so we create this ego, and that ego is fed by compliments and by bringing other people down and so on. And so when the warriors in the old days, when they would go into war, they couldn't go into war with any fear. They had to go in there without fear. So they would sweat their egos right out of existence. And then they would become brave men. And it wasn't necessary to kill your enemy. Sometimes all you had to do was walk up to them and show them that you were totally fearless and just touch them on the chest and then walk away. And that's what they gave me. And then I had to put that, what I learned in the sweat lodge, I had to put that together with meditation, because it was the native people. They chant and they pray, but they mostly listen. And that's what meditation does, to listen to God. And that's what I did. I learned how to meditate biker style. Yeah, there's an old biker, old Hell's Angel. He was deep into meditation. He would sit in the activities room, you know, where everybody's playing cards and watching television. He'd sit there right in the middle of the room, deep into meditation. But every once in a while, he'd turn around and go, "Hey, shut the fuck up! Fucking meditating here!" Now, the sweat lodge, getting back to the sweat lodge. The sweat lodge, people say to me, there was actually that in jail. Yeah, you know what? The natives here, the First Nations people, there's so many of them in jail. So many of them were put in jail for, you know, so the white man could steal their land or whatever the fuck it was. You know. they were in jail that they had to have their own religion. And they had to go to court in order to fight for their way of worship. The Catholics had their church, the Jewish had their synagogues, the Native people needed their church, and so they got their sweat lodge. And every federal prison in America today has a sweat lodge. And it was great, man. In my sweat lodge in Taft, most of the natives there were Chicanos. Still natives, and they're still there. In fact, the leader, David Aiello, is from this area. And David, I don't think he's here tonight, but he's out now. But he was a very cool guy, man, very cool. And he taught me things, you know. And that's when I realized that we're all